Have you ever wondered why the very first Social Security check you receive almost never looks like what you expected? And why the Social Security Administration seems to leave out the fine print that actually matters most? If you are getting close to claiming benefits, or if you already applied and you are waiting anxiously for that first deposit to hit your account, this is the video you need to watch all the way through. Because I am about to walk you through 9 things the SSA never fully explains about your very first check. The things that catch millions of new retirees off guard every single year. And by the end of this video, you will know exactly what to expect, when to expect it, and how to avoid the panic that so many people go through in their first few months of receiving benefits. Let's start with the first surprise, and it is a big one. Your first check is very rarely the same amount as the number you saw on your benefits estimate. The SSA sends you an estimate, but that estimate does not always account for things like Medicare Part B premiums being deducted automatically, tax withholding if you elected it, or adjustments based on when exactly your benefit officially begins versus when you applied. So if you were expecting a certain number and the deposit is lower, do not assume something went wrong. Many times it is simply the mechanics of how the first payment is calculated compared to future payments. The second thing the SSA rarely spells out clearly is that your first check does not arrive the month you become eligible. There's almost always a lag, often a full month or more, between the month your benefits are approved and the month your first payment actually lands in your bank account, because Social Security pays what is called in arrears, meaning your January benefit is actually paid in February, and this timing confusion trips up more new retirees than almost anything else on this list. The third surprise involves processing delays that have become increasingly common. In recent years, and especially in 2026, Social Security field offices have dealt with staffing shortages, office closures, and a wave of new retirees applying all at once, which means processing times have stretched out longer than they used to be. Some new applicants are now told to expect the process to take significantly longer than the traditional 1-month wait, and the smartest move you can make is to apply well in advance of when you actually need your benefits to begin, ideally 3 to 4 months ahead, so that any delays in processing do not leave you in a financial gap. The fourth thing nobody explains well enough is the exact day your check will arrive going forward. Your payment date is not random, and it is not the same for everyone. It is based on your date of birth. If you were born on the 1st through the 10th of the month, your payment typically arrives on the 2nd Wednesday. If you were born between the 11th and the 20th, it is usually the 3rd Wednesday. And if you were born after the 20th, it is usually the 4th Wednesday. There's also a separate rule for people who started receiving benefits before a certain cutoff date, or who receive both Social Security and supplemental security income, and those individuals are often paid on the 3rd of the month instead. Knowing which group you fall into removes so much unnecessary stress, because you will know exactly which Wednesday to watch for every single month going forward. The fifth item on this list is something that quietly frustrates new beneficiaries every January, and that is the fact that when your scheduled payment date lands on a weekend or a federal holiday, your payment does not simply move to the next business day, it actually moves earlier, to the business day before. This means your check can show up looking early compared to what you expected, and if you do not know this rule in advance, it can feel like something is wrong when in reality the SSA is simply following its own holiday and weekend payment policy. The sixth thing the SSA does not make obvious is how Medicare premiums interact with that very first payment. If you are enrolled in Medicare Part B, your premium is automatically deducted from your Social Security check before it ever reaches your bank account, and for many new retirees this deduction is the single biggest reason their first check feels smaller than they anticipated. If you have not budgeted for this deduction, it can feel like a shock, so understanding that this is standard practice, and not a mistake, will save you a lot of unnecessary phone calls to the SSA. The seventh surprise is about direct deposit versus paper checks. The federal government has been pushing hard to eliminate paper checks entirely, and if you are still receiving a physical check in the mail, you are required to switch to an electronic payment method, either direct deposit or a direct express card, and failing to do this proactively can create unnecessary delays in receiving your very first payment. So if you have not already set up electronic payments through your online My Social Security account, this is something you want to handle immediately rather than waiting until there is a problem. The eighth thing that catches so many people off guard is what to actually do if your first check does not show up on the date you expected. The SSA has a specific process for this. You are generally advised to wait a few mailing days past your scheduled date before assuming there is a problem, and then you can check the status directly through your online My Social Security account. Call the SSA's national number, or visit your local field office in person to initiate what is called a payment trace. And the good news is that this tracing service is completely free. There is no fee charged to you for the SSA to investigate a missing payment. So do not let anyone convince you otherwise. And finally, the ninth thing the SSA never fully explains is how your very first check connects to the annual cost of living adjustment, or COLA. If your benefits begin around the start of a new year, your first check may already reflect that year's COLA increase, which for 2026 came in at 2.8%. But if your benefits begin partway through the year, that adjustment will not show up until the following January. And understanding this timing helps you plan your budget accurately instead of expecting an increase that has not been applied yet. So to summarize everything we just covered, your first check is often smaller and later than expected due to Medicare deductions and payment lag. Processing delays have become more common due to SSA staffing issues, so applying early is critical. Your ongoing payment date depends on your birth date. Weekend and holiday payments actually arrive earlier rather than later. And if anything ever seems off with your payment, the SSA offers a free and straightforward way to trace it. If this video helped clear up some of the confusion around your first Social Security check, do me a favor and hit that like button. Subscribe if you have not already, and drop a comment letting me know which one of these 9 things surprised you the most. Because your first check does not have to be a mystery. And now that you know exactly what to expect, you can walk into this next chapter of your financial life with confidence instead of confusion.